as the Pac-12 turns. Program. And a lot of people talking this week about the fact that the Pac-12 is turning awfully slowly and may stop spinning altogether this week. And a lot of that is centered around Colorado. So we thought we would take today and tell you everything that we know about Colorado after reaching out to all of our sources around the conference and in the TV industry. It seems to be pretty status quo. It is true, and we were able to confirm through multiple sources that the Big 12 continues to speak with several members of the conference. We were able to confirm that Arizona and Colorado, along with Arizona State, have spoken recently to the Big 12, and that Arizona and Colorado seem to be the most passionate about making a move away from the Pac-12 to the Big 12. After speaking with people today, not one person told us that this was imminent or happening this week. And I know there's a lot of fanfare, around Colorado, and they were going to make an announcement today. I have not gotten that feeling from the people that I've spoken to. I can tell you that there's pretty much a unanimous belief amongst the people we speak to that Colorado would very much like to make a move to the Big 12 if the Pac-12 TV deal, which is set to be pretty well determined in the next, I would say, 10 days. If that deal is under $25 million, I believe that Colorado will instantly be the first one to go to the Big 12. Based on what I have heard, I believe Arizona would immediately follow, and where Arizona goes, Arizona State's not far behind. So you can see this rather significant domino effect. But I would also caution you in the hysteria. Yes, there is a Board of Regents meeting tomorrow at Arizona, but I am told it has absolutely nothing to do with the Big 12 or the Pac-12 TV deal.
Hey guys.
I am told that they have administrative duty they have to handle in that meeting. I don't know what that is in detail, but I am told the meeting at Arizona tomorrow is not an emergency. We're leaving the conference meeting. Maybe it turns into that. I have no idea. But from what I understand, Arizona is not meeting tomorrow, the Board of Regents, to discuss Big 12 membership. They are strictly in session to discuss the administrative issues. And by the way, it also reminds you, if they were going to discuss leaving the Pac-12, they would have to take a vote in public, and they would have to have a discussion period. So it doesn't seem like that's what's on the agenda tomorrow. I think we all need to take a breath and let the TV situation work itself out. I still maintain that by the time the calendar flips to June 1st, we're going to have a much clearer picture. I have heard that repeatedly, and I don't think there's much of a reason, Jake, to change our opinion on that.
Yeah, I just think that there's not a reason. There's not an initiative or any type of cause to change our opinion on everything that he just said. And I think that when you look at Colorado's situation, it's just like Arizona's situation. It's just like the rest of the Pac-12 situation, which is they need to know what the number on the TV deal is. And I really do feel like the hysteria with Colorado really stems from Dion and this whole thing about them, their long betting odds to win the college football playoff. And so it starts there, and then it bleeds into the TV deal. And then there's a Board of Regents meeting on this day or that day, and it just kind of snowballs. And so to me, I'm not saying certainly that it's some, nothing burger that they're having a meeting or that things are happening. But what I am saying is that when you look at meetings or setup or things that are on the schedule, you have to look at the facts. And he's exactly right. I mean, there's a certain process that has to play out to vote on whether you want to leave or whether you want to do this or do that. So if that process is not on the schedule, they're not voting to leave. That's just what it is. So to me, I just think, hysteria is the right word. At the same time, I've always maintained that the Pac-12 presidents and ADs and leadership can sit here and tell us that they're not running short on time, and I'm telling you that they've been running short on time for months. Like, ultimately, imagine if the Big 12 was in this situation with them. Like, if the Pac-12 and the Big 12 were competing for a TV deal, how much different this situation would be. But we don't have that situation because someone named Brett Yormark decided to get out to market early and get the job done. And that's why I think the Pac-12 is running out of time because, you hear about, and we're going to talk a lot about Pat McAfee today, but you hear about Pat McAfee type things happening, like whether it's the WNBA, whether it's, the Phoenix Suns deal. There's so many examples now. Every time a TV deal gets done, your time is shortened. And I think the Pac-12 is rather resigned to that, at least publicly.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that has become very clear as we have covered this story, and I don't even think there's any question, is that Colorado has significant interest in joining the Big 12. I don't think that's breaking news or surprise to anybody. From what we have heard repeatedly, and we've reported this over the last 10 days, I think we have a pretty good idea of where the Pac-12 TV deal is. And that is that I think it's $90 million a year for 5 years with ESPN, who's going to get the second or third best game in the conference every Saturday. And I think you are going to have to find a streamer of some sort. Now, what that ultimately turns into, I don't know. I have a real hesitation in believing that would be Apple TV because I don't see that Apple TV wants anything that's not the entire package. I just don't. That's not how Apple TV has ever done business. So I have a hard time believing the streaming partner will be Apple TV. But we have told you repeatedly that the Arizona schools, Washington, Oregon, and Utah all want ESPN to be their linear TV partner. They understand the reach. They understand the eyeballs that gives them. They understand the financial ramifications of being on ESPN. And I would tell you those are largely, with the exception of Utah, those are largely the same schools that are opposed to Apple being your exclusive partner because they're not in on streaming. Because, again, I think those schools recognize the ramifications of streaming all of your stuff on Apple TV. You're cutting your reach, which is already cut in half. You're taking another quarter out of that. You're going to get a quarter of the reach of everybody else across the country. And that's just not a situation that is sustainable. So you're not going to be able to get a grant of rights on that. I think you're simply in a situation where hysteria rules the day, and you have to take yourself out of it. I do not believe for a second that Colorado is ready to jump to the Big 12 today. I don't. I do not believe for a second that, and I guess there was a report a couple of weeks ago that said the linear part of the TV deal was done. I have not heard that. And I talk to our sources at ESPN multiple times a week, and I have not one time heard that they have a deal done or that they are, like there was a report that ESPN was completely out on the Pac-12. They're not. ESPN has said we're not going to move our financial number up. And if you watch this show on a regular basis, this is what we have reported for weeks and months now, that ESPN's at $90 million for 5 years, and they're not going to go beyond that. And so they know where they're at. So the idea that ESPN is out altogether is just simply not true. I think the Pac-12 wants far more than $90 million per school, $900 million a year. I think they want far more than that for their tier one rights. Now, are they going to get that? I would doubt that. I would seriously doubt that they would get anywhere near $300 million total. Seriously doubt they can get that number. My guess is that they're going to wind up around $200 million a year. With all due respect, in total compensation. And I think $9 million of that is going to come from ESPN. $9 million per school. I think is going to have to come from somewhere else. And I think you're really going to struggle to find a deal to get you past $20 million a year. Because if ESPN is in at $90 million and that's it, I just don't see how that makes you get to $30 million, $40 million. Again, Washington State's president yesterday bloviating about how they were going to get a deal that's on par with the Big 12. I would be shocked if that happened. It would be a stunning turn of events if the Pac-12 were able to come up anywhere near, I would say anywhere near $25 million. I think at this point would be just an unbelievable win.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be amazing. But if ESPN is, if ESPN is serious at the numbers that we're talking about, I just don't see how you I don't see how you win. If ESPN's going to pay you $90 million a year, where are you going to get the other $110 million to get to $20 million? That's the biggest question I have.
Yeah.
Because I don't see a streaming partner, and we've heard repeatedly, and we've told you on this show that Amazon Prime Sports is no longer bidding for Pac-12 content.
Mm-hmm.
And if that is, if at the end of the day Amazon's out, I don't see a whole lot of other places to go to stream your content.
Waves in opposition.
And so now you start getting into, okay, well, are we going to stream it in-house? Or, like you're going to have to be really creative here, which is why I go back to our report of March 11th that NBC Universal was very interested in. Dennis Dodd reported last Friday that NBC Universal was getting very serious about trying to acquire the Pac-12 TV package in totality, which, hey, that's fantastic. If that indeed is the case,
yeah,
you don't need to worry about Apple and you don't need to worry about ESPN because it's NBC Universal in total. That's why I say reports that say the broadcast TV part of this deal is done, Jake, I'm just not buying that.
Yeah, and I just think that there's too many X factors at play. I mean, I think that, if it was a situation where, it was very clear that, ESPN wanted to commit let's say, I don't know, $30 million a year per school or something, some great number, and everything was awesome. And it was just a matter of working out, how much was going to be on ESPN Plus, let's say, or how much of their content was going to be on stream. Okay, then I would feel a little more comfortable being like, yeah, the Pac-12's fine. Like they're just kind of trying to massage this, instead of 50-50 linear and stream, maybe it's 70-30 linear stream or whatever. Like if that was the situation, I would feel a lot better about this thing. But the problem is we know for a fact it's not even in dispute. It's not in question what ESPN's position is. It's not in question, what some of these schools' position is, because the fact is these institutions have to make a certain amount of money out of their athletic program every single year. And the TV part of that, or the distribution part of that, is obviously the lion's share of the budget. So if you're only getting pennies on the dollar, that's not going to work, and then you're going to be forced into going and finding a better solution, which is what ultimately brings me back to, again, these localized distribution deals. I don't understand why the Pac-12 is not looking at, hey, we're going to have, this is going to be our national schedule, right? Like we're going to have one game per week that's a national game for the conference on, let's just say ESPN as an example. Okay, great. That's that one game. But then, at the localized level, if Stanford and Washington State are playing, then whoever the home team is in that situation that's a TV game for them or whatever. Like you can see how you can see how there's some structure there to balance one national game a week, and then what would it be? Four other localized games, and I just don't understand why you wouldn't go to that model, because it makes perfect sense given your situation. It makes perfect sense when you start to understand that, hey, yeah, we're probably not in a great place to get one of these beefy TV deals right now. And clearly, the folks over at Scripps Sports or, the CW, like these different more localized or what's called regional TV networks, clearly have a thirst for programming.
Clearly.
Go feed the beast. Go put a deal together and then work something out for one game a week at the national level. I just don't understand why you wouldn't do that.
By the way, here is the agenda for tomorrow's meeting, thanks to Lopes fan Gabe, who sent it over. At the Arizona Board of Regents tomorrow, as we told you, they have administrative duties. You will notice that this entire meeting is virtual. Item A is assignment with the University of Arizona president, Robert Robbins, who we've talked about a lot on this show. And then legal advice and discussion regarding the Banner, I would guess that's Banner Health affiliation. So this meeting tomorrow has nothing, absolutely nothing to do with the Pac-12 TV deal. And nothing to do with Arizona jumping to the Big 12. So as we sit here, again, here we are on Tuesday, May 9th, and as the Pac-12 turns, I just will again tell you, I think Colorado is the story. Colorado is the story on this. The fact that you guys have not hit the like button yet is a huge story, I think, on this show. That we've had 1,000 people view the show already and only 47 likes is a little tragic, frankly.
Yeah.
And it hurts, especially when we're giving you free shots of buckshot from Bucked Up Energy, the official energy provider of the Monty Show. I'm telling you guys, and I'll do a close-up on these. Whoa, hey now.
Whoa.
Take it easy with your buckshot there. There it is. There's your buckshot. This is a lovely, lovely little energy drink. High-powered energy shot, as they like to call it. You just twist the cap off. That's right. And this is watermelon. Cheers, friends. Down the hatch, done. Long-lasting, all-day energy. And the thing that I love about buckshot is that it really gives you mental clarity.
Yes.
It gives you a lift. So, right now it's 2:15 in Los Angeles, but it's also 5:15 in New York City and anywhere in between. You're at that time of day where you might be dragging ass a little bit. If you had a buckshot from Bucked Up Energy, you'd be able to get through your day just fine.
That's right, T.
And we want to give you 6 free samples in the description below. Click the link. It says 6 free samples of buckshot. I'm telling you to get the watermelon. I love it. Jake, you're what are you, a blood raz guy?
Blood raz guy in buckshot, man. It's really
blood
good.
raz is red raspberry, by the way.
Yes.
I'm telling you that I like the blue raz. There's really not a bad flavor.
No.
Rocket Pop's pretty good as well, but I'm a watermelon guy. I love them. They make a big difference. By the way, we also tell you a lot about the Pixie Pump. Still available at buckedup.com. Make sure you use the promo code Monty to get 20% at checkout. And if you live in the great state of Utah, go to any of their Bucked Up stores. Orem's a great store. I've been to Orem, South Jordan. We've been to Murray. But everywhere from Farmington Station all the way down to St. George, hook it up at the Bucked Up store. Tell them you heard about it on the Monty Show. Bucked Up, the official energy provider of the Monty Show. So again, if you're just tuning in, hit the like button. The news of the day really is Colorado has a lot. I would say significant interest are the words that were used to me in joining the Big 12. Because I think slowly and surely as you go across this conference, how's the golf over there? You enjoying what you're watching there?
It is.
Anyway, my point is, Jake, like constantly, you'll just see he'll be like, just watching TV.
I got
Sorry
you
to distract you from your soap operas.
Yeah.
Anyway, the point is that Colorado has significant interest and desire to join the Big 12. And I think what we're seeing is time goes on and these schools start picking up the pace here. I think people are starting to realize that $20 million is going to be a very good number if you're the Pac-12. If they get anything less than $25 million, our sources have told us they're going to lose the Arizonas, they're going to lose Colorado, and that's just a given. And I think at that point they also lose Oregon State, because I was also again told yesterday that the Big 12 would like nothing more than to add Oregon State. And we've been telling you for a couple of months, it feels like now, hey, we've been hearing watch Oregon State. Hey, keep an eye on Oregon State because they have brand new facilities. They win on the field. They bring a really passionate fan base. Like they give you that 4th time zone, which is one of the interesting things about the Arizona schools in Colorado. The Arizona schools don't necessarily hand you the Pacific time zone, right? Because they're in that weird place in this country because we like kids to farm with their families in the morning and at night, and sometimes they go to school too. But anyway, the point is, with daylight savings time, Arizona's not always in the Pacific time zone. Oregon State's in the Pacific time zone. So I think Oregon State is one of those schools that'll fly under the radar, but they're a P5. They give Brett Yormark his 4th time zone. It makes a lot of sense to add the Arizonas, especially if Utah's on the fence, which I'm told they are. If you can't get Utah, which is obviously one of the crown jewels of this conference, I would tell you Arizona's, Colorado, and Oregon State. And then I think, because I personally believe they add 6. If you're going to add, I think you add 6. And I think you add Gonzaga, and I think you're talking to San Diego State. Mm-hmm. That is what I have heard repeatedly. Gonzaga. And I think at the end of the day, that's what happens. I think you wind up adding Gonzaga, And I think you end up adding San Diego State, and I think you become the best basketball conference in the country, hands down, and there's no conversation at that point. But I also don't think this happens today. I'd actually be really stunned if it happened this week. I think before June 1st. That to me, I think schools are getting antsy. It is still remarkable to me that we saw, and Jake, I don't know what you think. It is still remarkable to me that we saw the president at Washington State essentially giving a news conference yesterday, talking about the media deal and making the unbelievable statement that Washington State owns the Pacific time zone.
Media rights, where are we now?
We've had really, really good conversations with major media outlets and recognizable ones that everybody goes, oh yeah, I can click on the TV and watch that. Over the last 6 months, ESPN's a great example. They laid off a whole bunch of employees. Yeah. If you said, when would be the worst time in the last 6 years to try and negotiate a media deal, probably the last 5 months is going to be pretty close to the worst. And so what's been happening is we've continued to have those conversations with recognizable major media outlets. They're very interested in the Pac-12. People have to remember, entire football isn't as great as this conference or that conference, but we occupy a coveted time slot where people need live sports content around the nation. People like college football, and the Pac-12 owns that West Coast time frame.
Yeah.
Congratulations, but that's bullshit.
I just think that's a whole lot of spin. I don't know. I could be wrong, but it is surprising to me that you're the president at Washington State and you're talking about how the Pac-12 owns the Pacific time zone. And I think the issue is twofold at Washington State. You don't realize how insignificant you are. With all due respect to the Palouse. Washington State, when you make statements like the Pac-12 owns the Pacific time zone, the late window, you're crazy. USC owns the late window. And UCLA, to a lesser extent, owns the late window in the Pacific time zone, and they're in the Big Ten. So I think you have an issue here where I just don't think you understand who you are. And to be inferring that ESPN can't sign a deal because they're laying people off, well, it's awfully convenient that Andrew Marchand at the New York Post had a story today that ESPN and Pat McAfee are working on a deal. And I would remind you that Pat McAfee has a $120 million deal with FanDuel.
Right.
Reportedly.
Right.
That he is walking away from to shift priorities in his life. He just had a baby this week. He's actually not working this week. His show's still on, but he's not working this week. I'm somebody that watches the Pat McAfee show every day. And Pat's a guy that I think is shifting priorities in his life because now he's a family man. He works for himself. He's starting to figure out what we already know, that this is not the easiest gig in the world, and it takes a grind, right? So Pat's talking to a lot of people. He was photographed with Bob Iger a couple of weeks ago, and now Andrew Marchand at the New York Post, has a story where he's talking about that ESPN it could be a likely landing spot for Pat McAfee.
Keep it real.
And I'd have to believe that if you're Pat McAfee and you're going to ESPN, you're getting $150 million to do it.
But wait, I thought ESPN was out of money. Well, that's what.
And they could never be talking to Pat McAfee. That'd be a bad look because of all the layups. What are you talking about? This is what I mean about the Pac-12 and the presidents. Every time one of these dudes talks, there's some embarrassment factor to it.
Yeah.
You just had Washington State say ESPN said they want to sign a deal, but they can't because it'd be bad optics. And yet here we are the next day, the preeminent media source in the country says Pat McAfee and ESPN are talking. And Mom, I am guessing, in my opinion, that Pat McAfee probably gets $150 million from ESPN.
So get your facts straight.
I mean, it's just so clear. It's just so straightforward. I mean, I don't know why. Like if you missed it yesterday, we went in depth on this Washington State thing, and we had a long conversation about it. But the big takeaway from that Washington State situation is that Kirk is out here talking off the top of his head. Right?
That's right.
Like you did an interview with one of your regents, and it should be a canned, very straightforward, almost scripted interview. Obviously you're going to have some words here and there that maybe aren't word for word what the script reads, but for the most part, you shouldn't make an ass of yourself. And I feel like that's what happened now that the Pat McAfee thing came out.
Yeah, I totally agree. All right, enough of us, more of you. You guys are probably not here to hear us drone on about this. Let's get your thoughts on the show. First one in today. Let's see. I need to go all the way back to the top. Thank you for all the comments. Of course, it's Meat Rocket. Meat Rocket 304 says he's first every single day.
I mean, that's not untrue, dude. That's
Monty
not untrue.
Monty Rant says, happy Tuesday. Hope everyone's having a nice week. I would totally agree. Hope everyone's having a nice week.
Yeah.
Let's see. Truck Stop Gumby says, definitely not the first to burst today.
Right.
The first to burst today.
Yeah, that's like rhymes and stuff.
Vorlon Angel 1811. I don't know. When your name is Vorlon Angel,
right?
I don't think that's like saying Metallica.
Metallica.
You have to say Metallica, right? Like
no smoke.
Vorlon Angel. Brock Heward on George Kliavkoff's remarks in Arizona meetings. So the Pac-12 had meetings in Arizona, and the way it was described to me was that George Kliavkoff is dead on his feet. I was told that there is very little, and I'm glad you brought this up, Orlon, because there's very little push. There's very little belief. There's very little enthusiasm. I was told the meetings in Arizona last week were very much A plus B equals let's go have a drink. Like they were just very much, yeah, boom, out of here. Let's just follow the agenda and go play some golf or go hit the spa, or that there wasn't a lot of enthusiasm in the group.
Enthusiasms.
And that one of the things that we've talked about repeatedly on this show is that one of the differences between the Big 12 and the Pac-12 right now happens to be and the only word I can think of is the momentum, the atmosphere, the
vibe.
Yeah, like it is just two different worlds. Two very different worlds. And I think when you look at the way that employees and companies operate, when the group is happy, the company thrives. When the group is unhappy, the company sputters.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you're looking at with the Pac-12 right now.
Yeah.
So, Vorlon Angel, Brock Heward on George Kliavkoff's remarks at the Arizona meeting. Well, it was hard for me to listen to George Kliavkoff. I don't need to hear about the water polo team that you guys are 19-2 out of conference. There was a lot of conference of champions. There was a lot of that. And I think this is one of the things that kills member morale and employee morale at the Pac-12 is George likes to bloviate. He likes to say, well, hey, the women's needlepoint team, they've won 17 precision sewing championships in a row.
What are you talking about, man?
Dude,
they own the late night window on the West Coast.
Hey, George, bro, by the way, hey, have you seen the budget? Have you seen the revenue for the conference here, my man? Yeah. Did you know that the football TV deal, that pays for sewing practice, okay?
So there's been a lot of that, though. There's been a lot of that exactly right there. Like George Kliavkoff, from what it's described to us, will be like, hey, the water polo team, it was 19-2 out of conference. And people are like, hey, that's great, but what about the TV deal? Any update on the TV deal, George? I can't hear you. But hey, congratulations, Conference of Champions. All right, next item. Okay, what color's the letterhead going to be this year?
It's a soft person tennis.
We'll take a yay or nay on pink.
How's Cougar Red look these days?
Right? Like, that's what it feels like to me. The Big Lubbock says Oregon State to the Big 12. Mm-hmm. I would agree with that. Brandon Butler says you can't handle the truth.
I mean, it's true, man. I legitimately feel like there are people in the Pac-12 who just simply don't want to acknowledge the reality. And I think the oddball person in that is George Kliavkoff, because I think he's paid not to acknowledge reality.
I agree. Aaron Wilson says 8 more pounds till MEPS. Let's go.
Let's go, baby.
Military training, essentially. You have to be in physical fitness there. Lucky the waist measurement limitations are in place for revisits. Reservist? I don't know what that means.
Reservists.
Is that what that's supposed to mean?
Probably.
Okay. Aren't in place for reservists. Okay. Renee Roca wants to know if you're fat. Zesty says Monty joins the Big 12 as a hockey announcer.
Fat.
I would do it. Owen Lovell, what's up, Owen? Let's go. Every team to the Big 12. You know. D-Rock Irish, first time watching the intro. Nicely done. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. Renee Roca also says, I went into MEPS like 20 pounds overweight for the Air Force. Dude, I appreciate everybody who serves our country. Thank you. Because I just think it's a calling, and I think it's very difficult. Gary, what's up, Gary? Merge with the ACC or the 12. I would rather have the 12. Okay. Raider Mark, so far I have counted 5 different Pac-10 presidents who have given 5 different reasons, excuses, in 5 different timelines. Mixed messaging, but they are united.
Right, right.
And again, something we've talked about a lot on this show is that there's a lot of confusion because one president will say one thing and the next one will say the next thing. I mean, you have Taylor Robbins saying we have no interest and, everybody just needs to let George do his job. And then
Lie detector test determined that was a lie.
But then you have President Robbins at Arizona saying he's got great affinity for the Big 12. And he knows what the Big 12 number is. He's just waiting to see what the Pac-12 number is.
Yeah.
Like you have these contradictory statements that I think cause a lot of problems.
I just don't think some of the presidents particularly care too much. I think they see the writing on the wall, and this is kind of been my take for a while. Like these people are going to say whatever publicly. Like you have some people in the Pac-12, presidents is what I mean. You have some presidents in the Pac-12 who are going to be, all right, what is the company line, and how can I run that out there in the most proper way possible? And then you've got guys like Buddy at Arizona, who just rolls out and is like, yeah, dude, the Big 12 is the best basketball conference in the land, and I have some affinities with that because we're close, geographically speaking, and it would be a great fit. So I just got to see what we get for our TV deal, and then I'll make a decision. You can see how, you've got person A, and then you very much have person B. So to me, I just think that there's no bringing everyone together. There's no, center line that everyone can kind of come to and talk about their disagreements or their different perspectives like there is in the Big 12. Do you really think that all the members in the Big 12 all agree on every single item on the agenda? Do you really think that all the presidents are in perfect agreement with everything? Well, no, of course not.
No, of course not.
But Brett Yormark is the one thing that everybody agrees on. Brett Yormark's opinion is what everybody follows. It's that simple.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's very interesting. It's just my opinion. I just think there is no leadership. I just think there is no leadership whatsoever in the Pac-12 right now. Al Bundy says, I've been binging on Buckshot for a week.
Dude, it's bomb. It
is really good. It works really well, and I'm telling you, it is really, to me, it's a game-changing product. Jim Choi says, when is Costco going to start carrying Bucked Up? Certain business centers across the country already carry it. So it's just a matter of which ones. You can always get cases of Bucked Up energy drink. You can get them at Walmart or any Bucked Up store. Walmart.com will certainly have them. Keaton Critchlow, with taking Buckshot this late in the day, does it affect your ability to fall asleep? It does not at all.
No, trust me, 8 o'clock comes real quick for your man.
At all. And that's the thing I really like about the Buckshot. These little gems right here, you can get at buckedup.com. The thing I really like about them is that they're real easy. Yeah. It's not an energy drink. It's not a can of energy drink. The ingredients give you a nice lift mentally. You get clarity. And you, in my mind anyways, I think you don't get that buzz or that shake that you're always trying to deal with when you're taking a high stimulant supplement, right? So that's the thing about Bucked Up that you really feel good about. Is that you're getting really clean ingredients and it is clean, long-lasting energy. And yeah, I have no trouble falling asleep. Trust me, I got phenomenal 6 hours and 45 minutes of sleep last night. So yeah, I totally agree with Jake that it is not an issue. How many calories are the Buckies?
The Buckies.
I think they're 100 calories.
Let's see.
I have to look through this. I'm old, you guys. I am old. I have to look. The label says that they are one container. It does not give you a calorie. It says 1 shot, container 1, 2 ounces, which means it is not a significant source of calories because it's not like they're full of sugar. That's the other thing you have to remember is these are clean, so they're not full of sugar.
Yeah.
Just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
So that would be that I think is a big difference. Travis Bird says, I'm seeing high up bucked on Friday. Okay. Raider Mark says, I drank 2 bucked up Miamis and man, I'm still hyped till well past midnight. But it depends. So the black can is 300 millis of caffeine and the white can is low stim.
Yeah.
That's 100.
Yeah, Mrs. Monty's a big low stim person. And I know we have a lot of low stim folks out there.
Aaron Wilson, Utah doesn't deserve the Monty Show. Move it to Texas.
Texas.
Well, we are kind of a national show. We don't really...
I mean, there may or may not be a Texas trip coming up. It's funny you bring up Texas, but,
I mean, we're going. We can say we're going. How many people are in Dallas that listen to this show?
How many Dallas folks do we have? Specifically, there may or may not be some building in Arlington that we're going to.
Where Jerry kills skeeters.
Yeah.
Circumcises skeeters. Yeah. Big 12 Media Day.
Yeah.
Is July 13th and 14th, I believe, or 12th and 13th. And it is at our AT&T Stadium. So we will be there in Dallas. So, we could all hang out and play golf or something.
Yeah.
Luis Oliviero, we have reached at the end of the business day in the East, and the hugs still stand for the moment. And hugs, Bob Huggins, correct? Correct. I agree with that. Travis, CU problem getting Houston, Rob Allron. Okay. Oh, you mean Alton McCaskill. Yeah, we'll see about that. Monty's show is big in Dallas-Fort Worth. We appreciate that. David Sebesta, what's up, David? Good to see you. The Pac-12, 10 schools, 10 presidents, 47 stories. Isn't that the truth, though?
On point, bro.
And it's a huge mistake, in my opinion. Huge mistake. Bob Holsey, what's up? The Pac has more stories than the millions being offered. Seriously.
Yeah, and I think, the funny thing is, you would think they'd recognize that. That's where I don't understand. When we talk about, hey, George Kliavkoff doesn't have permission to speak to the media. Okay, that's just a general understanding you have. But is George Kliavkoff not at all experienced in media relations? Can he not advise these guys hey, I know that you don't want me talking, but we probably shouldn't be talking too much as a conference. And if we do talk, it should be one person. And by the way, it shouldn't be in an awkward conference room on a Zoom call that cuts out every 5 seconds.
Totally agree. By the way, not to be distracted.
Yeah.
But Jake has on the women's collegiate golf tournament, and now I understand why he's watching golf.
Oh, yeah, dude.
I turned my head for 10 seconds, and there is some lady wearing tailored golf shorts. How dare you?
I'm so bricked up right now.
Just saying. Tanner Plummer, the Pac-12 are as united as America is right now. Well, let's not get carried away because that'd be pretty splintered. But speaking of our good friend Tanner Plummer, don't forget we're taking you to RSL and NYFC at America First Field on June 10th to hang out in the Zag Club. It is going to be amazing. You guys, the Zag Club, if you have not seen it, is truly remarkable. It is a great space. It is a lovely, lovely place to watch a soccer match.
Soccer.
We are taking you. We are giving you parking. We are giving you VIP entry. We are giving you a pregame on-field experience with RSL.
Keep it real.
And then during the game, you get seats that look like that. And that's in the club. That is in the Zag Club, where you get a gourmet buffet, all the food and drink you can eat or drink, except alcohol. And then you get to hang out with us, and we get to watch a match between NYFC and RSL on June 10th at America First Field. It is going to be amazing. And all you have to do to enter, to win a spot, is what Riley O'Brien, the great Riley O'Brien.
Yes.
The best RV salesman in the business.
Yes.
He went and got new tires at Big O Tires in American Fork with our guy Ryan. Walked in and said, hey, Ryan, heard about you on the Monty Show. I need a set. And then you know what else Riley O'Brien did? He brought a friend who needed tires as well.
Boom.
So Riley's got 2 tickets to see RSL
Boom.
and NYFC with the Monty Show. It really is. He's in, guaranteed, done. That's 2 less chances for you to get in. Now, what that means is we're down to 8 spots.
Yep.
We are down to 8 spots left. So go get an oil change. Go get an alignment. Go get a tune-up. Anything you need fixed on your car. Do you have a check engine light? Is your car running a little hot? Have you gotten an AC system tune-up going into summer? Oh, you haven't? Big O Tires and American Fork. You need tires, rotation. You need air in your tires. You need whatever going wrong with your car. Big O Tires and American Fork. Make sure you tell them you heard about it on the Monty Show. The next 8 people who go in there and get an oil change, let's say, you're guaranteed a spot
Yes.
at RSL and NYFC. Oh, by the way, if you don't want to spend money, okay, I totally understand that. Times are tough for some. Find Big O Tires and American Fork. I don't know, find them on Twitter. Big O AF8. Tell them, hey, we heard about you on the Monty Show. Boom, you're registered to win. I'm telling you, it's not that hard.
No, it's not.
It is not that hard, and we are only adding to this promotion. So trust me, there's going to be some great merchandise. The 10 people who go with us are going to get a commemorative T-shirt. It's going to be an event. Trust me, it is going to be an event. The Monty Show with you at RSL versus NYFC coming up on June 10th. Thanks to our friends at Big O Tires and American Fork. That is going to be a great time.
Yes.
Zesty's Retro and Games. What happened to the other 6 if 4 leave? We'll ask the Big 12 because the Big 12's been down this road before, and I think this is something really critical to remember. The Big 12 has lost Missouri, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, Texas. Everybody said the Big 12 is dead. Last time I checked, the Big 12's not dead. You can sustain yourself, but you have to act pragmatically. And here's the question that I have for the Pac-12. If you lose, let's just say you lose 2 teams. Let's say somehow, some way, you just lost Arizona and Colorado. What should your first move be? If you're George Kliavkoff, what should your first move be? Well, I would tell you resign because they should fire your ass if this happens, right? But let's say they don't fire George. What should their first move be? Their first move should be to add San Diego State and Fresno State. You want to dominate the Pacific time zone? San Diego State and Fresno State. That should be your move, right? Get yourself back to 10 as quickly as you can. Okay, great. What should be your second move? Copy everything that Brett Yormark has done. Get yourself more reach. I don't care what it takes. If you got to produce the games on your own, do a deal with Ion TV or Scripps Sports. Do a deal with the CW. Get somebody to give you a national or even a regional West Coast, Rocky Mountains to the West Coast game of the week on the CW. Do something because you've got to find new reach and you've got to find creative ways to get yourself out there. Do something with basketball. But here's the other conundrum. If you lose Arizona, are you at all a basketball conference? Because if you really look at this conference, with Bronny James going to USC, who's going to dominate Pac-12 basketball this year? Well, all the attention, no matter what, is going to be in Los Angeles.
Yes.
Right? So then Bronny's going to leave, and he's going to go play with his dad on the Lakers, and USC and UCLA are going to leave. And let's just say in this scenario, Arizona leaves. Well, now what are you going to do? Because you're not a basketball conference at all in any way, shape, or form at that point. I think that's the biggest issue facing the Pac-12, Jake, is that you don't have a presence in basketball without Arizona.
Yeah, and I think that the conference, like basketball has become a lot more valuable, and for the last several months, ever since Brett said it at their basketball tournament, talking about monetizing basketball, like that point he made was spot on because I just feel like. Yeah, football is going to be your workhorse, right? It's going to be your honey hole, as they say. It's going to make you all the money it can make you, but ultimately one sport has a cap. And so in the guise or the effort or the thought process of, hey, we need to make as much money as possible, not to say that the Big 12 is doing poorly, but hey, we want to make as much as we can because 10 years from now, if we find ourselves in a bad spot, we want to at least have some pad here at a minimum.
That's right.
Like, hey, basketball's got to generate, and if basketball can generate, then hey, maybe we can get a combine deal that way, or get all these other things, all these other ideas. So I agree. If I'm the Pac-12, like I'm just trying to copy what Brett did. He gave you the blueprint. Now just go and do that thing. It's not that hard.
Bo Cron says Jerry World is in Tarrant County. That's Fort Worth territory, not Dallas. Come on, man. Are we really going to argue about what part of the Metroplex? Okay, guys, we're going to be in Tarrant County and Fort Worth. So if you're in Dallas, fuck off. Only Tarrant County, only Fort Worth. That's it. That's all the people we want to see, okay? All right, cool. See you, bro.
We're on to Cincinnati.
Really? So if you're, okay, let me get this right. Hey, guys, we're coming to the Dallas, Fort Worth, Tarrant County area. So, hey, if you're in the Dallas Metroplex, I know you got to hop on a flight because it's a flight from Dallas to Fort Worth, right? Ask J.R. Ewing. Guy, what are you doing? What are you doing? Seriously, what are you doing? Jet Wayman, the Towel King of Utah. What's up, y'all?
Jet?
Good to see you. John Evans says Triple D. Salty Drunk. Yes?
Jet, bro, you're not going to want to be here about 5 o'clock, man.
Is this thing on?
Ain't ducking, no smoke.
Hey, is this thing on? I told you to bet the Lakers last night. Hey, did you guys bet the Lakers?
Question.
Oh, you didn't? Okay, cool. Good to see you guys. All right. I'll be over here in Beverly Hills.
Boom. Out of here.
You guys enjoy the coast. All right.
Can't back down.
Two players play, man. You know what I'm saying, Jet? I have no idea what I'm talking about. Salty Drunk says, good job on your NBA predictions yesterday, Tanner. What about me? 2 for 2. Are you kidding me?
Do you view this season as a failure?
Bless up, Steph. This guy. I was the only one.
For somebody.
I'm not filling it. This is my fucking show. I'm not filling it for anybody. I nailed it. Where's my love? Are you kidding me?
The lie detector test determined that was a lie.
Stop. Bob Holsey, get your mind out of the gutter, okay? Aaron Wilson says you guys are watching Butts and Putts. I'm married. I mean, honestly, it's almost as if the TV is off in my world because I'm married to the most beautiful woman in the world. Hot, sexy.
You gotta be fucking kidding me.
No, I'm not. Justin. That's one of my favorite drops, and I hope you got. We debated whether you guys would understand what that drop is.
You gotta be fucking kidding me.
That's Justin Thomas missing a putt. Lewis says, why would the Big 12 add Oregon State? That would be idiotic.
No, sir, it would not.
But Jake, he's going to inform us clearly on how
Filling in
idiotic.
for somebody.
So let me ask you something. Why would the Big 12 add Oregon State? Well, let's see. Let thou Uncle Montith count thine ways.
Please retort, please.
Oh, do retort. Number one, they're a P5 program. So that automatically puts them ahead of San Diego State and ahead of Fresno State. Okay, there's one reason. By the way,
that's not a good reason.
Who else is available in the Pacific time zone to the Big 12? Now, you understand. And look, Oliviero, I love you, dude. Thanks for being a member of the show. But you understand where the Pacific time zone is. That'd be pretty much the state of California, Washington, and Oregon. Okay? So Washington, Oregon, California. Is Washington or Oregon available to the Big 12?
No.
Stanford and Cal?
Yes.
You
Probably
think,
not, though.
I don't think they're available to the Big 12.
I think they're better fit in the Big 10, but I think they're available. I think they're open to a conversation.
No, I totally disagree. Okay. I think that they would join the Big 10, period. And I think the Big 10's more interested in Stanford and Cal than they are Washington and Oregon. I know that's crazy. The first time I heard it, I was like, God damn, boy. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, actually. Mm-hmm. So who's that leave? Oh, that's right. That leaves Oregon State.
I like Gonzaga.
What has Brett Yormark said? What's his priority?
I like Gonzaga.
He wants to add a Pacific time zone, the 4th time zone, because he's already got the Eastern time zone. He's already got the Midwest, Central. He's already got Mountain, BYU. He needs a Pacific time zone. So, just saying.
How is it not a good ad? How does it not make sense? How do
so 2 + 2 equals Oregon
81.
State. Exactly. Oregon State. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Cougar Tracks. Is there a TV in there for Jake to watch? Oh, there is. There is. There's a beautiful Samsung 50-inch TV hanging on the wall. Mm-hmm. Mike Rochburn. Mike Rochburns. I want.
His cock.
You know. I've heard that about you.
His cock.
You know. Zesty's Retro and Games. What is actually happening in the ACC right now? Any smoke? No. Because I think the opportunity for the ACC exists only if the Pac-12 collapses.
Ain't ducking no smoke.
But I'm telling you that's not really an option. I think that's a huge mistake. If it were me and I were running the ACC and ESPN and others, I would be trying to get the ACC to morph into something else. I would probably want Florida State in already crowned Clemson, into the SEC, and I would probably try to divide that up because the ACC's real value, in my opinion, is their basketball brand. I don't believe, and I've said this before, I'll say it again, I don't believe the ACC is a football conference. I truly don't. Outside of Florida State and already crowned Clemson,
in God's name, image, and likeness.
And we all thought God was a Notre Dame fan. Clearly, he's a Clemson fan.
We built this program on NIL.
You know, I mean, so that's kind of where I'm at with it. The ACC is a basketball conference. But the oddity there is Clemson and Florida State. Now, Florida State's played decent basketball on a longer line.
Right.
But if you're Clemson, have you played real high-level basketball? Well, you really haven't.
It's probably different than what you're thinking, though.
You're in a conference with teams like Virginia who are not likely ever to be the best conference in the country, right? They're not. But if you are Duke, Carolina, like you look at the rest of that conference, and now with the way that college basketball has changed, you look at this Bronny James situation at USC, it's exactly what college basketball is.
Facts.
So he's not nearly the best recruit in this class, but he was one of the hottest, most sought-after recruits in this class who had his pick of over 20 premium basketball brands. And why did he stay in LA? Well, because his dad's in LA, because he can go into USC and say, I want to start. He's going to be in a position where the basketball program does not suck at USC. It's not elite, but he's in a position where it's USC, it's Los Angeles, major TV market, major NIL market. He's going to be on national TV, and he's going to make a lot of money doing it for 1 year, and then he's going to go play for the Lakers.
A plus B equals a top 10 pick in the NBA draft.
So it doesn't matter if you're Carolina or Duke. It doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
It just doesn't matter because you're not likely to get the best players in the country. Guys are going to go now where it's financially viable and they're going to be seen because they want to go high in the draft. Like you look at Victor Wembanyama. Victor Wembanyama is not nearly getting the reach that a Bronny James is. But what do we know about Victor Wembanyama? He's a physical freak, but he's in France. But where did Scoot Henderson go? He went to Duke, right? Oh, no, he went to G League Ignite because he got paid, he had sponsors, and everybody was seeing him in NBA circles.
Yeah.
So NBA scouts and NBA executives were regularly seeing Scoot Henderson. Everybody's got a story. And anymore, that story doesn't include Kansas, Kentucky. That story doesn't include Carolina and Duke.
Otherwise known as Blue Bloods.
That's what I'm saying. Like the game, college basketball has completely changed.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one and done situation has gutted college basketball, and everyone's like, "Oh man, San Diego State is such a cute story in the championship game, and everything's amazing." And then that game fell on its face with viewership, and everyone was like, "Oh."
But this is the plight of the Pac-12.
Yeah.
Because the elephant in the room in the Pac-12 is San Diego State, right? Everybody automatically assumes, and I know we talk about San Diego State on this show, it seems like every day for the last 8 weeks.
Yeah.
But everybody assumes that San Diego State is just a rubber stamp. They're going into the Pac-12. I got news for you. I don't believe that to be nearly as true as it was, because I think we were the first show in the country to report that they had an offer from the Big 12, San Diego State, and they told the Big 12, not right now. Because we believe, and I agree, they are a better fit athletically and geographically in the Pac-12.
Facts.
If all you're doing is flying north and south and pretty rarely east, why wouldn't you do that instead of having to fly all over the country?
Right.
Well, you would, right? The problem is, if you're San Diego State, you just played for a national championship in college basketball.
Yeah.
That gives you some credit.
For real.
Because when Gloria Navarez, the commissioner of the Mountain West, was on, what's the first thing she said about San Diego State? Well, they made us a bunch of money that's long-lasting because they made their run through the Final Four. So they're valuable. They're making the Mountain West money for the next 6 years.
Yeah, but what else does she say? I mean, and this is what I think is so fascinating.
That we were her favorite interview she's ever done.
Well, how did you see? We have this connection, this bond that lets you read my mind. How did you do that, dude?
I don't know. Mental telepathy, I guess. She also said that's a foregone conclusion before she took the job.
She took the job knowing they're leaving, dude.
She said that. And it's on the channel if you want to go back and look through our interviews.
Yeah.
Gloria Navarro straight up said, oh, yeah, it's a foregone conclusion. We have a list of schools that we would approach.
But this is why the J.D. Wicker thing is so asinine. It's so silly to me.
The athletic director at San Diego State, J.D. Wicker.
Why would you roll out and say, yeah, one way or the other, we're leaving the conference, and it's going to be the Big 12 or the Pac-12? Wow, man, J.D., thank you, bro, for reinventing the wheel with that take, because anyone thought you were going to the ACC or the Big 10. Well, no, of course not. It's always been the Pac-12 and then secondarily the Big 12. And I think what folks like JD don't want to talk about is that if the Pac-12 folds, you're going to look kind of silly for saying Pac-12 or Big 12.
I just think it's fascinating. I think the whole thing is fascinating, and I am just ready for it all to end. John says the P5 argument for Oregon State over Fresno State and San Diego State is topped by the California talent. Is San Diego alone? In San Diego alone, they had 4 Heisman trophies since the 70s: Allen, Salam, Williams, and Bush.
Yeah, but
I don't think that's the current culture anymore.
Yeah.
Number one, and I could be wrong about this, are you telling me that San Diego State's a football school? Well, they're not. And with all due respect, if you're a Heisman Trophy caliber football player, are you going to San Diego State or USC? You're going to USC.
Yeah.
USC dominates Southern California recruiting, and they have for probably the last 20 years at a minimum.
Yeah.
Right? So I look at I look at those names that you're talking about. Notice that Allen and Reggie Bush, where'd they go? Well, half of that group you just mentioned went to USC.
Yeah.
Which you would expect.
With all
them
due
to.
respect.
But there's a high school in Orange County called Mater Dei that's a quarterback factory that quite literally is a pipeline to USC.
Yes.
So with all due respect to San Diego State, I just don't see San Diego State as a pipeline for football. Now, basketball, obviously, when you're competing for the top of the conference, yeah, that's a big deal, dude. That's a big deal, and I would agree with you. Football and basketball are 2 totally different economic models. Football and basketball are 2 totally different ways of doing business. You have the minimum years playing football in college where you have 1 year, and I think there's a good chance in the next CBA, now that they just did this one, but in the next CBA down the road, I think that goes away. You're seeing more kids going to Europe. You're seeing more kids going to the G League. Like, it's just a different way of doing business. I mean, altogether, it's a different way of doing business. Which is why I always tell you, when you want to do business differently for dinner, you go to Papa Murphy's and you never, ever forget the marinara meatball.
At Papa Murphy's, we do more than just pizza. We do meatballs and marinara.
Papa Murphy's does meatballs?
Oh, I think you mean I do the meatballs and marinara?
And how do you do it, Dad?
How do I do it? How do I do it?
Oh, well, we do it with savory ground beef
Covered in tangy marinara. That's how, honey.
At Papa Murphy's, we make great pizza.
And don't forget the meatballs.
Order now at papamurphys.com.